Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to your favorite baseball podcast. That's Lots Above Replacement, episode 61 today. We are joined with Mac and Alex. Fellas, how's it going?
Doing good over here. I had a really fun weekend. I got to celebrate two separate birthdays, talk a lot of baseball, and got to race go-karting, which was pretty cool. I actually won, which was fun. So yeah, no, I'm in a pretty good mood, I'd say overall.
Yeah, I
Mac,
had
how
a
are
pretty
you
good
doing?
week. I'd say I had a pretty good weekend too. It was my mom's birthday actually on Friday, so happy belated to her, I guess.
Happy belated.
And I also went to a swim meet over the weekend, which was fun. I got to spend time with some of my Masters teammates. For those of you who don't know what Masters swimming is, it's kind of for the post grad swimmers who don't want to be a full time athlete anymore, but still want to keep with their sport. So we went down to the Philly area. I got up very early, but it was all worth it for the post meet diner diner lunch, which was fantastic. Diners in New Jersey are just so good. It's the best thing about that state. So yeah, we ate a lot of food, and then I slept like a baby last night. I mean, I don't know. I might be more sleep than I've gotten, like, I don't know, 2 weeks combined. Who knows? But yeah, I had a pretty good weekend.
Yeah,
I
that
do.
sounds fun.
I'll say one thing then, real quick. If we're talking about food, I want to give a shout out to the Tipsy Cow over at Redmond. That had legitimately one of the best burgers I've ever had in my life. So shout out to them.
Yeah, and real quick, I want to shout out then Legacy Diner because they hosted a party of nine. So that was pretty good.
Wow. Respect. We are not sponsored, by the way. I want to give a shout out to my grandmother. She went full Karen. We went to a restaurant, her favorite, in downtown Falls Church, and she got the fish and chips with double fish, like she gets every single time, and she hated it and made everyone in the
Oh,
restaurant
that's
know about
tough.
it. So,
Oh,
love
That
my
that is
grandmother, but
unfortunate though.
that was
yeah.
a pretty fun moment, I guess. So, we're not going to talk about what happened over the weekend. Not going to talk about it. I'm putting the kibosh on that. But we are going to talk about what happened last Tuesday. That is the Hall of Fame voting. The 2024 Hall of Fame class has been finalized. Joining Jim Leyland in Cooperstown, we have Mariners legend, Red Sox legend, Rangers legend, and Dodgers legend, Adrian Beltre. We have Twins lifer Joe Mauer coming in on the first ballot, and Rockies legend number 17, Todd Helton. Guys, give me one takeaway from the 2024 Hall of Fame ballot.
Good for Beltre. That's my take. It's kind of weird to think about that Adrian Beltre would be oh yeah, congratulations, good on him. But I legitimately didn't think he was going to get as much support as he did before the ballots started coming in. I thought he was going to be close and all that. No, he was dang close to unanimous. I mean, 95% is definitely nothing to sneeze at. And I I get as a Mariner fan, I loved getting to see a guy that also I met earlier this year, just before the Swingman Classic, part of All Star Week, and really cool, chilled guy. Like for a guy that had such like a personality like on the field as well, to also just be fun and chill and take time out of his day just to go meet up with fans and have some fun. I loved it. And I'm so happy that he is in, especially at the numbers that he got. Again, 95.1%, 366 votes. But then I also want to give a quick shout out to Joe Mauer. I did not think he was going to make it this year. I thought he was going to be close, would probably make it on his second or third year. No, he got just enough here, 293 votes, 76.1%, which means we had two first timers on the ballot making it into the Hall of Fame this year, and joining them being Todd Helton, who got a big jump up, 7.5% in his sixth year on the ballot, 307 total votes. Like, honestly, this is a strong class. You have one of the greatest catchers, in my opinion, of all time. You have one of the best third basemen of the modern era. And you have Todd Helton, who is probably one of the most underrated first basemen, I think, of all time. Because honestly, when a lot of people think of first baseman, there's a lot of great names that come up, and people don't talk about Helton as much. And he was one of the most savvy and smart first basemen out there. So a great class to these three. We'll talk about some of the people that didn't quite make it in a little bit, but for these three, true congratulations on achieving baseball immortality.
Yeah, and I just want to add in, I think it's good for baseball that this year we had a class of three people
Mhm.
We hadn't had that in 5 years, if you wouldn't believe it. When I believe it was Halladay, Edgar Martinez, and Mariano Rivera made it in the same year. I mean, we had two people make it for the class of 2020 with Larry Walker and Derek Jeter. Then nobody made it in 21, and only one person made it in each of the last two classes, actually, with only Ortiz, and then the next year it was only Scott Rowland. So it's awesome that this year we have three really deserving guys getting in. I mean, Adrian Beltre, a guy who he was a late bloomer, but he went from maybe he'll get into surefire Hall of Famer. And then you have Joe Mauer, who I thought Mauer and Helton were both going to be close this year because Mauer, there's a whole debate about him moving to first base. Like, does he really deserve it if he didn't hit 200 homers and all that, but I'm glad people recognize his greatness. I mean, 3 batting titles in 4 years. When the catcher position as a whole only has 7 batting titles, and then you have Helton, who there's this whole he played for his whole career on the Rockies. He played at Coors Field all the time. Well, just because you play at Coors Field does not mean you're destined to be an amazing player, and he was fantastic over his 17-year career. So I wish that Billy Wagner got in. I wish that Gary Sheffield got in, but I'm really happy with the results this year, and I hope that we keep getting classes like this going forward.
Yeah, and I'm also going to talk about Beltre. You look at his career, and from when I entered the baseball realm, right? So like think 2006, 2007, 2008, Beltre wasn't like a Hall of Fame level player in his time with Seattle.
Yeah, for sure.
But what makes the difference between a Hall of Famer and a just Hall of very good player is the down years. Beltre's down years in Seattle, he had at least 3.2 baseball reference WAR in all 5 seasons. He had 5 WAR twice. And this is his down. Like, these are supposed to be not so good seasons. Now, of course, this is because he is a historically awesome defensive third baseman and like a reasonable enough hitter when you consider Safeco's like park factors and whatnot, right? So like he never had more than 10 batting runs in those seasons, but he was 8 +8 DRS +19 +4 +27 +20. But Adrian Beltre had some really great peak years. Like 2004 with the Dodgers is like a historically great one. Then with the Rangers, he had 7 WAR, 6 WAR, 6 WAR, 5 WAR, 5 WAR. But what made Beltre special was even in the down years, even in the years he didn't put it all together, he had 3 different seasons with 3 WAR with the Dodgers before his big breakout in 04. He had the 7.8 WAR season in Boston, and then even at age 39, he racked up 1.5 baseball reference WARs. So that's the difference between a Hall of Famer and just another good player, because there are players with higher peaks than Adrian Beltre, right? 2004 is a bit of an outlier, but there are players that had like more, like Miguel Cabrera, right? He had back-to-back MVPs and was like the best player in baseball, best hitter in baseball. Like, was Adrian Beltre ever the best hitter in baseball? No. Was Adrian Beltre ever the best player in baseball? Well, no. Was he ever the best third baseman in baseball? Arguably not. But just the excellence year over year over year, that's what made him special.
Yeah, one thing I want to bring up here is also how rare it is that for a player that a lot of their Hall of Fame resume starts on their final team. Like, I'm not going to say that he wasn't good with all the other teams. Obviously not. He was an amazing player with the Dodgers, Mariners, and even in his year with Boston he finished 9th in the MVP voting, was an All-Star and a Silver Slugger that year. He did well everywhere. And that was what made him such a good player. But overall, the majority of what made him like this career Hall of Fame worthy was on his final team when he was 32 years old, signing with Texas. And in that span, right, the next 6 years, he received MVP votes. He, again, in 2011, got 15th. 2012, got 3rd, the highest he would ever get in the span with the Rangers. He got 2nd in his time with the Dodgers in 2004. Then 2013 again, he got 3rd. 2013 got 7th, then 15th, 7th again, and then 7th again. Triple sevens, by the way, that's also pretty cool. Like, it's weird to think about that. We talk about players that when they get past 30, they're starting to get on that decline. You're wondering how much longer are they going to go for? Like, people are always going to say, okay, you know what, 40 is what you're going to shoot for, right? But after 30, we stop saying that, oh, I wonder what heights they're going to achieve. We start asking ourselves, like, all right, how much longer can they keep it up? Because they're just going to start falling down, we think. And with Beltre, that wasn't the case. He got better as he got older. He got better and better and better. Again, we call that a late bloomer, but it's also interesting to note that his professional playing career in the MLB started when he was 19 years old with the Dodgers here, where he played 77 games. Still got a few home runs to his name, not a whole ton, but a good few. And did decent with the Dodgers. Like, not great, except for his 2004 year, where he clubbed 48 homers. But he just got better. The more and more that you look at, like, his baseball reference page, it's insane to think about to try and pinpoint where's the drop-off. And it's pretty hard to find out. Because you'll start saying, like, just take hits, for example. Very simple stat. Just straight up hits. Right? In 2010, he had 189 hits. Like, that's dang good. That's dang good. Then it drops down to 144, and you're thinking, okay, you know what? Maybe he's at the end. He's at 32 now. That goes back in 2012 and hits 194 hits. And you're thinking there's no way he's going to do it again. Well, guess what? He didn't do it again. He did better than that in 2013, getting 199 hits. Like, and at that point, there's a bit of a drop off, but not by a lot. It goes down to 178, 163, and then 175. And then that's when the numbers go down a little more because he played less games. But that's the thing that's so cool about Beltre and why I'm fully supportive that he got this high in the vote. Very rare do you see a player that comes and does pretty solid through the first half of their career, and then in the second half is where they become a legend.
That's the thing, is that first of all, in 2004, he probably could have won MVP, but there was this guy playing for the Giants who drew 232 walks and had over 600 on base percentage and a 1400 OPS. I forget the guy's name. I heard he was like a decent baseball player, but Beltre.
Oh, John Dowd. I remember him.
John Dowd. Yeah, exactly. That's his name. But, you know, really, it was that 1 year prove it deal. Shout out to Jolly Olive, who just made a video on the best prove it deals in MLB history, or at least in recent history. But that was a 1 year deal he signed with the Red Sox, and he made his first career All-Star game. I cannot believe it. He did not make an All-Star game until he was 31. But that was the year he hit 49 doubles. He hit 321, which at the time was the second best mark of his career. And the thing is that in 2011, he hit 32 homers in only 124 games. So that's a year, if he doesn't get hurt in the middle of that season, we're looking at a guy who probably hits close to 40, probably finishes higher than 15th in MVP voting, maybe gives Verlander and Ellsbury a run for their money in the MVP race. So there's a lot of accolades that maybe he didn't get, but I think, he still, it's just crazy that he, like you were saying, Alex, that he became a Hall of Famer when he was on the wrong side of 30, because he was definitely a good player before he turned 30, but it was from that age 31 season on that really secured his spot.
Yeah, and to hammer that home, in the history of baseball, Adrian Beltre is 14th in WAR accumulated as a 31-year-old or older. He's sandwiched between Edgar Martinez and Charlie Gehringer. Pretty good company there. 49 baseball reference WAR after he left Seattle. And if you go through his Boston career, so like LA, Seattle, Boston, at that point, he's at a crossroads that if he just like continues like playing as he kind of had, and he has a couple more 3 WAR seasons, he ends up being more like a Scott Rowland type of like a sabermetric Starling. We look at it, it's like, okay, yeah, you kind of have to make the Hall of Fame case for Adrian Beltre at that point, right? If he has say 5 years with Texas and he's like a 2 or 3 WAR player and he gets up to 65, 70 WAR, okay. it's kind of like the third baseman in the 70s, the Sal Bandos, the like Buddy Bells of the world.
Greg and Eddles.
Yeah, exactly. That you have guys that are in that Hall of Fame group that if you're looking at WAR, they're Hall of Famer, but the contemporaries didn't think they were Hall of Famers. Okay, great. Well, then he has a historically great stretch to end his career, and he ends up at 90 baseball reference WAR, and he ends up 95% on the ballot, and he ends up as an icon of the game when halfway through his career, he's like, okay, we're going to talk about our shortstop list here in a minute. And there's shortstops on this list that have like Hall of Fame starts to your career, and they're at 40 baseball reference WAR, or 45 baseball reference WAR, 50 baseball reference WAR, and there's a crossroads. And I think it's always fascinating how players get at this crossroads. We've seen players, Andrew Jones, right? Got to the crossroads. He's at 60 baseball reference WAR and fell off a cliff, and people are holding that against him, right? Even though he had such a great career in his 20s. And Beltre is a guy that was good in his 20s, had 50 baseball reference WAR in his 20s, but was even better in his 30s and was accumulating WAR like a madman in his 30s. So great career for Adrian Beltre, great career for Joe Mauer, Todd Helton. Who is one guy that did not make the Hall of Fame that you guys want to talk about?
I mean, the first one that comes to my mind,
go ahead.
I'll go first on this, is gonna be Wagner. I mean, I think he's the one that we all kind of want to talk about a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, it feels like he got a solid boost this year. Like, good to see. On that, again, it got 5.7% boost on that. And next year is going to be his last year on the ballots, his 10th year. And this year, he was, 5 votes away from making it? Normally, a lot of players get a big boost in their final year because, like, oh, yeah, final year, got to give them that push. And he just didn't quite get it this year, so I have no doubt that he'll make it in next year. But it still feels weird because this is a guy that is legitimately probably one of the best left-handed relievers of all time.
Probably
like,
the best.
Yeah, I'm about to say, I'm trying to think of more. When I say probably, I'm trying to think of other ones, and there's not a lot that come to mind. Like, for how good he was, for how dominant he was as a thrower. But yeah, no, I think Wagner's gonna make it in next year. It's just a little sad that it's not this year, just because it would have been really cool to have a 4-man class.
Yeah, I mean, Wagner was the closer of my childhood, so I really, really hope he makes it. But another player that I think was an instrumental part of my childhood was Gary Sheffield. He unfortunately will not be making it, at least on the ballot. Hopefully, he gets some love from the contemporary, the modern baseball ballot, like Jim Leland, like Fred McGriff, like Lee Smith and Alan Trammell and Jack Morris. It's tough because he had over 500 home runs. He had more walks than strikeouts. He was a great hitter. I was at the game. He hit his 500th home run. It's my first game at Citi Field. But the tough part is he was linked to steroids, which I know will cost. I mean, it's costing A-Rod. It's costing Manny votes. It cost Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens. And then he also kind of had a tough. Yeah, he played hardball a lot. He wasn't super popular with the media or his teammates. That's why he played for so many different teams. So he's gonna have it's tough because the talent is there for sure, but you got to remember that there is a character clause when it comes to voting. And unfortunately, I think obviously I don't like comparing people to what Kurt Schilling has done, but it's kind of similar reason. If the writers don't like you, they're not going to vote for you. Unfortunately, I think that's kind of the image he has, but I think he's deserving. It sucks he's going to fall off. He's falling off the ballot now, but I hope he gets in eventually.
All right, I'm going to touch on my guy, Andrew Jones. Again, I don't see the case unless you're taking it outside of baseball and you're invoking the character clause, then fine. We have different, I don't want to say definitions for that, but I think it's a baseball Hall of Fame, not a character Hall of Fame. That's my stance there. But 434 home runs, 10 Gold Gloves, deserved at least 8 of them by like my historical trademarked spreadsheet. But fine, he's going to make it in a couple years, and maybe that's a hopefully a Met or a Mariner makes it that year, so we can have an LAR goes to Cooperstown. That'd be pretty cool.
That'd be awesome.
So
Yeah.
so hopefully maybe next year and it's Ichiro and Billy Wagner. Oh, next year would be perfect.
Ichiro,
We get
Wagner,
Billy
yo,
Wagner, we get Ichiro, we get Andrew Jones.
That would be
Sign me
heck
up
yeah.
I
for
would
that.
Yeah,
enjoy
I'm down
that.
with that.
I am down for that. I am just gonna speak that into existence. So
Please, yes.
yeah. So hopefully that happens. But right here, right now, it's time to rank some shortstops. Last year we had some fun rankings. We had Trey Turner at 1, or Francisco Lindor at 1. We have guys flying up the list, guys falling down the list, some weird years. Mac, let's go to you for the number 5. Who's your number 5?
So at number 5, I have a guy who I don't know if everyone considers him a shortstop, but I'm going with Gunnar Henderson from the Baltimore Orioles. I love watching this guy play the game. He's so young. He's only 22. He's actually younger than I am by a little over a year. 28 home runs, 814 OPS, 125 OPS plus, 9 triples, by the way, 10 steals, 6.2 baseball reference WAR. He does strike out a bit, but he walks at a solid 9% clip, a lot of red on his baseball reference page. He's in the 100th percentile in base running value, so that's pretty cool. 79th percentile in batting run value, but overall, I think he's an all around solid player. I'm really excited to see this guy's career develop. He was the unanimous rookie of the year. He got MVP votes. Gunnar Henderson's number 5, and there's a world where maybe he doesn't continue at shortstop. There's also a world where he rises up this list. I mean, doing that at age 22, I'm really excited to watch him play.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll jump in, and I don't have Gunnar on my list. He's in that weird spot that he's going to play third. He's going to play short. You have Jackson Holiday coming up who can play short. You have a ton of infielders in Baltimore. So while Henderson's going to be an everyday player, it's kind of Ben Zobrist-y that it's a little weird to say, yeah, he's going to be top 5 second baseman. Well, he's really a utility player, but he's going to play every day because he's that darn good. So I don't have Henderson on my list. If we were to do like a utility player ranking or like a positionless player ranking, because he's going to be in the lineup every day, he would be right at the top of that. With Betts becoming a full-time second baseman, he might be number 1 on that list. But I'm going to go with a holdover from last year's list and Xander Bogaerts. Bogaerts is just the quintessential good hitter, reasonable enough with the glove to stick its shortstop, and he had really hot and cold moments with San Diego, but he ended up at a 120 OPS plus. Again, you can just set your watch to it, right? So dating back to 2018, his OPS plus by years 135, 139, 128, 129, 131, 120. Like he's just going to be that guy. He's going to hit around 20 home runs. He's going to steal a few. He stole a lot more bases this year than he had previous years. He's going to get you 30 doubles. And he just had like a good season, right? The batted ball metrics aren't anything special. The shortstops in general are pretty wacky this year with the batted ball metrics. But he improved a lot defensively, and he's just a good player. He's not going to be. I don't think he's like a superstar level guy like my top 3 are that I would 100% sign off on being superstars. And then number 4 is the superstar reputation and the superstar like end of the season. But Bogaerts is just a really good shortstop. Just a really good player. Alex,
Yeah.
who's your number 5?
Yeah, Xander Bogaerts is good. He did not make my list. But that's
Didn't make
because
mine either.
Yeah, but that's not to say that there's anything wrong with Bogaerts. I think Bogaerts is a great player. For number 5, there were a number of players I was thinking of. I honestly had Gunnar Henderson too, but I thought about it a little more, and I'm like, what position is he gonna play? Is he going to be shortstop? Is he going to be third base? I ultimately left him off the list, potentially for a utility ranking if we do end up doing that. So for number 5, I'm going to what I know. Call me a homer. It's fine. I'm going JP Crawford. I think that JP took a huge leap in 2023. His bat was always going to be his biggest question, and he massively improved his hitting ability. He became not just a good contact guy, but even hit it out of the ballpark a good number of times as well. He was a strong player, but the biggest thing when it comes to the bat is his patience. He led the league in walks last year. And take a look at the Steamer projections for him right now. He is projected right now to have a walk percentage of 12.1%. That is higher than anyone on the shortstop list according to Fangraphs. But that was his biggest question because people knew how good his defense was. He already has the Golden Glove and has shown how good he can be in that position. He has shown that he can make the big play when it needs to happen. He makes the routine plays look easy. That's exactly what you want from a good shortstop. And especially now, with his bat improved, it lets Julio move down to the number 2 spot there. So having a 1-2 punch of JB Crawford and Julio Rodriguez is absolutely stacked. But Crawford has shown that he can be a leader and has shown that he is one of the best shortstops in baseball. For that reason, he's number 5 for me.
He was right on the edge for me. I was really between, honestly, it was between all 3 guys we talked about: Henderson, Bogaerts, and Crawford. I think Crawford and Bogaerts are like 6 and 7 for me. But I definitely do see the case. He really became a great hitter this year.
Mm-hmm. He was really dang good.
I think you could include guys like Dansby Swanson in this list as well. Good hitter, unbelievable glove. And there's some other guys that we anticipate that can like climb up this list. Like a Jackson Holiday, the number 1 prospect in baseball. There's other young, great shortstops across Major League Baseball. I'm going to go to a guy who's not a young shortstop, but a guy who is falling down my list here at number 4, and that's Trey Turner of the Philadelphia Phillies. He was having a rough season. Then the Phillies fans give him a standing ovation. Then he turned into Prime Barry Bonds. So if he's Prime Barry Bonds, then he's back at number 1. Although number 1 was improved with the glove, but Turner had an odd year, right? So it's a year of extremes, unbelievable base runner, one of the top 2 or 3 in the league. Corbin Carroll, right, is up there. Went 30 for 30 in steal attempts in the regular season. Did get a caught in the playoffs once, but he's not great defensively. He's a guy that probably is better suited to play second over short. Just don't put him back in the outfield like Washington tried to. Just don't do that. So probably better suited to play second. But also Bryson Stott is a Gold Glover-ish type player at second. So maybe you just keep Turner's average to slightly below average defense at short. Regardless, Turner, good hitter, unbelievable base runner, one of the best in the game. Not a great fielder. At short, he's all right. The batted ball metrics a little bit better than, say, Bogaerts, or nothing spectacular. 71st percentile expected batting average, 68th percentile expected slug. He does get the big boost with being so fast that he doesn't necessarily have to be this batted ball merchant like some players do. 71st percentile sweet spot rate. He chases a little bit more than you like. He whiffs a little bit more than you like. He doesn't walk a whole lot. The defense isn't great, but the speed is an X factor. And, last year I ranked him at number 1 because of the speed over Francisco Lindor type. And I'm going to keep him on my top 5, but I am watching to see if late season Turner is going to be what he is this year, or if it's going to be early season Turner.
So I also have him at number 4. That's the thing. And, he hit 26 home runs still. I mean, that's, you talk about the standing ovation. So that was August 5th. So from August 5th to the end of the year. So by the way, entering that game, he had a 656 OPS. From that point on, he batted 339, 391, 677. So in 1,069 OPS, nice, with 16 home runs. So from August 5th on, that was fantastic. So he showed glimpses of what he was in Washington and LA. So I'm expecting him to bounce back a bit. I'm not expecting him to be what he was from April through the beginning of August. So I expect him to be, hitting 16 home runs in a, on an 162 game pace of 55 homers a year? No, but I think he's still a pretty good shortstop. Yeah, the glove does concern me, but he's very fast. I know he's aging. He's, the wrong side of 30 now, but I'm looking forward to, I think Turner's going to have a bounce back season. I think there's a chance he could get, maybe get his spot back in the top 3. If you ask me on August 5th where I had him, he probably would not be in the top 5. But that's the strong final 6-7 weeks in the season really saved him.
Yeah. Believe it or not, I also have Trey Turner at number 4.
This might be a first.
This is I think we might have it, boys. No, like I'm gonna be honest. I had a number of guys that I had from 4 to 5, and it really hurt cutting a few of them out. And I ultimately went with Trey Turner, not because of what he can do, but not even so much of like, okay, let me restart that phrase. I went with Trey Turner because I think what we've seen from him, he could be consistently better than a lot of the other ones. Because for one, there was one that I really wanted to put at number 4, and I'll tell you right now, he's not on my list. That's Bo Bichette. I wanted to put Bichette on there because when we've seen from Bichette, the defense is not great, but when his bat is on, he is one of the most dangerous hitters in the game. The problem is, it's when the bat is on. With Trey Turner, he brings another very interesting. I hope that wasn't caught on camera. On that there's drag racing outside my house right now. All right, no worries. But with Trey Turner overall, his skill set really adapts him a lot more to a player that can. I like players that are a little more versatile. I like high speed. I like power. I like good defense. And he really does have all of those. The one problem with him is whether or not he can put them all together. When he does, he is an unstoppable player and one of the smoothest in the game. But even if one isn't going, the others usually are. At that point, even if he's not, hitting for power, he's still getting on base and stealing second. If the defense isn't doing great, you know what, he's probably still knocking a home run or two. So for that reason, I have him at number 4.
Yeah, it's tough because he was a number 1 or number 2 for all of us last year, but
yeah,
that's the tough part, especially like I honestly wonder how long he'll stick at shortstop too, especially as he
I will
ages.
say I was surprised, Alex, that you didn't have Bo Bichette in your list because you've been a big Bichette guy. When we did this last year, he was in your list.
I'm gonna be real. He was in the list until like 30 seconds before we started podcast. And
Fair.
I kept looking at Fangraphs, and I'm just looking at this stuff, and I'm like, wow, Bo has a really bad walk rate, a really high strikeout rate, and bad defense. Trey Turner doesn't have that near as badly. Don't get me wrong, still not great. They are both very equal when it comes to those things. But at least Trey Turner has the defense and has the speed. So it was for that reason I put it up. I probably could have put Crawford at 4 and gone with Turner at 5, but I just felt that overall, when you look at true ability and when you're able to put it all together, Turner just barely edges out.
Sure. Speaking of edging out, my number 2 versus number 3 is probably the closest I have between any positions outside of center field. Center field, I have 3 guys that I consider basically the same, but 2 and 3, both of these guys are superstars. Both of these guys are face of the franchise types. Both of these guys are going to be MVP candidates. But at number 3, really, really, really consider this a 2B as opposed to a number 3. But
I get what you're saying.
I have Francisco Lindor of the New York Mets. 30-30 season last year. I'm not going to say a bounce back season because he was pretty good in 2022 as well. But just a star. And it's the thing I talked about this last year, that you look at Lindor's like baseball reference page, and he's not going to lead the league in home runs or lead the league in steals or lead the league in anything, but he's just really, really good at everything. He's an awesome defensive player. He's a good hitter. He's a good base runner. He steals bases, hits from both sides of the plate. His batted ball data is pretty good. 74th percentile expected WOBA. I need Baseball Savant to get their WAR situated here soon, but plus 14 batting runs, plus 5 fielding runs, even on the base paths, and then that's just like on advances and whatnot. And he was a good base stealer. 79th percentile average exit velocity, 90th percentile range, 71st percentile sprint speed. Just a star. And I think he's in that superstar realm, but he's not going to have the superstar numbers. Like he's not going to hit 62 home runs like Judge. He's not going to steal 70 bases like Acuna. He's not going to hit 330 like a Freeman. But he's a star. He's a shortstop. He's obviously just he's a 5-tool player at shortstop. That is incredibly difficult to do. He's the guy that is on the Hall of Fame path, that if he takes the road that Beltre did, he's going to be an all-time great. If he takes the road that a Scott Rowland did, he's going to be like an awesome player in a Hall of Famer. If he takes the Andrew Jones route, he's still going to be a Hall of Fame or a sabermetric darling, maybe not a Hall of Famer, but a sabermetric darling at the very least. So Lindor's my 2B really option.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I think that's very fair to say.
yeah, so number 3, I have Bobby Witt Jr. So with Witt, really, man, he's probably the biggest riser we have on this list because he kind of had an up and down rookie year where he hit 20 homers and stole 30 bases, but like his defense was not good. He struck out a lot, but this year he cut his strikeout rate down to 17.4%. He hit 30 homers. He stole 49 bases. It's interesting because Baseball Reference will tell you that he was a below average fielder with -6 defensive runs saved. Granted, that's still an improvement over the -18 he had the year before, but you go on Fangraphs, you go on Baseball Savant, is 10 outs above average, which is in the 93rd percentile. He's a great base runner. The one thing I want from him offensively, 5.8% walk rate does not do it for me. He somehow slugged under 500, which is also confusing. So he had a 5.7 Fangraphs WAR. He was only like 4.4 on Baseball Reference. So I think Witt, there is a world where he's number 2 or number 1 for me next year. But for now, need to see a little more to put him higher. So I have him at number 3.
Yeah, and that's really fair, I think, because I have Bobby Witt on my list. He's not my number 3. I'll talk about him in a minute. My number 3 is, just like Splash said, Francisco Lindor. And honestly, the reason why I have him at number 3, it comes down to a couple things. One, switch hitting is something that is so validated and so important, I think, into baseball. And he does that job extremely well, but also, one word, defense. Francisco Lindor plays great defense. And that is something that at shortstop, you really need good defense at shortstop. So the fact that he is able to do all these things exceptionally well, I will gladly take it. Plus, also a 9.5% walk rate isn't the worst. It's actually on the decent side, I'm going to say. Still needs to work on that strikeout rate at 19.5%. But overall, right, you look at Lindor and you just think, the first thing that comes to my head is, dang, can you imagine how good the Guardians would be if they kept him as well as J-Ram? But regardless of what would be arguably the greatest left side of the infield in history, that is an amazing, like, his ability to play the game and his ability to be what I like to call very much the prototypical shortstop is bar none. It is amazing to see. So yeah, Lindor, he's kind of like what you said, Splash. With him and the guy who have it number 2, it's more closer like a 2B, but I'm gonna say 3.
Yeah, I think that's fair. It's a tough conversation between Lindor and Witt because I do think Witt. I'll just go in and go ahead and do my number 2. I've Bobby Witt Jr. is my number 2A, if you will. The StatCast page is awesome. 90th percentile or better in expected WOBA, expected batting average, expected slug, range, and sprint speed. Mac talked about it with the range, that the outs above average, that really likes him. Fangraphs really likes him. Baseball Reference does not. So I think it's somewhere in the middle that Witt's a probably good defensive shortstop. Not as good as Lindor, not as good as like a Dansby Swanson, but a probably good one. But his X factor is the speed. He's one of the fastest, if not the single fastest player in baseball. He's an unbelievable base runner, and that's going to help him in the box. But what really helps in the box is hitting the ball hard, hitting the ball where they ain't really. 95th percentile expected batting average, 95th percentile expected slug. And to me, that's the difference between Witt and Lindor, that I think Witt is more like my number 1, and Lindor is like the platonic ideal of a shortstop, right? The historical shortstop, if you will. That's, good at everything, good glove, good arm, good base runner. I think Witt has that potential standout trait. The power in this case, the 535 expected slug is awesome, and the speed. I think he has 2 A+ traits. Lindor, I don't think has an A+ trait, but has like 5 A's, if you will. So that's why I've Witt like ever so microscopically ahead of Lindor. If we were doing a top 50 ranking or a top 25 ranking, they would be back to back in the ranking.
I mean, they're back to back in these rankings too.
This is a good point, but we're only ranking,
Yeah.
30 shortstops.
Yeah, exactly. No, I feel that. I'll go next then. And yeah, Bobby Witt Jr. is obviously my number 2. And kind of to echo the points that you said there, Splash, Lindor is the prototypical like shortstop when I look for it. Bobby Witt Jr. is the next step up. He's a very different style player, but he does it just as good, potentially just a little bit better. Again, 2A, 2B type thing. But with Junior, the thing that really sets him apart is that speed. He has nasty speed. Again, one thing I would love to watch, just a straight up foot race between Julio Rodriguez and Bobby Witt Jr. just to see like the amount of Sonic the Hedgehog I can get on this. But overall, no. With Witt, he has a very MLB The Show likes to call it the anomaly factor. Great power, great speed. And again, I do think he's a pretty solid good defender as well. So, I mean, you take a look at what he does. He is one of only 2 shortstops in baseball to get a 30 home run, 30 stolen base season. And the other one, guess what? One's Lindor, too. Fantastic. Good to see. That's the reason why the 2A and 2B. I give Witt the edge almost basically solely because of the speed. Lindor has the better defense. Witt has the better speed, and I think I value speed just a little bit more.
All right, so I have Lindor at number 2, and here's what separates Lindor from Witt for me though is that we know what we will get out of him every single year. I think, which is that you're going to get somewhere between 5 and 7 wins above replacement. You'll get the power, you'll get the speed, you'll get the defense. Whereas Witt has only been in the league 2 years, and remember the first year he struggled pretty badly. So, I need to see him do what he did this year more than once before I can put him ahead of Lindor. With Lindor, it's crazy because for some reason there's a contingent of the Mets fan base that thinks he isn't a good player, where clearly they don't watch baseball because he had a 30-30 season. He had 6 Baseball Reference WAR, which is actually the second highest total of his career. You wouldn't believe it, but Francisco Lindor is a good baseball player. If you walk into some random bar in Long Island, they'll probably tell you he sucks. It's just because of the contract, which, by the way, he's worth that contract, in case you forgot. It's also the second straight year he's been 9th in MVP voting. I love watching Lindor play. I think he plays with great swagger. He's a great clubhouse guy. When the Mets were really struggling, he was always willing to answer questions about it, which I really value. I'd say he's kind of like if we were to pick a captain for the Mets, I would say it's weird to say because he's only 30, but I would say Lindor would probably be the captain. It'd either be Lindor, Alonso, or Nimmo. So I think Lindor is number 2 for me. The homer in me really wanted to put him number 1, but I think there's an obvious choice for number 1. That's not Francisco Lindor. He was my number 1 last year, but I'm number 2 this year. And I do see your point, though. I think the gap between him and Witt could get closer this year, and there is a chance where that Witt could leapfrog him, just not right now.
I do want to give a shout out to Lindor for finally getting that Ford Bronco for Jeff McNeil.
Yes, he did. He came through on that promise.
Very good.
So maybe the Mets will be good again now that I'm not even going to call it a beef. Yeah.
The curse of the Bronco.
Yeah. Which I wonder how McNeil feels that he hit like 270 this year and now he's getting rewarded for hitting 330 the year before. I don't know. So you got that from on layaway. So fair enough. Yeah. All right. It's time for number 1.
Yeah. I'll go first on this one. And at number 1, I have Dylan Moore of the Seattle Mariners, an amazing short now. I am gonna make a Mariner reference though, and that is Kyle's brother is number one, Corey Seager. Look, I mean, come on. You look at any page that this guy has, and he leads it. Power wise, hitting wise, defense wise, he's still dang good. Is he the best defensive guy? Absolutely not. But if you go to Fangraphs right now and you look up shortstops and you take a look at the offensive WAR, right? Get rid of the very first one because he's not a shortstop anymore. I mean, he technically can play it, but that's Tatis. The offensive WAR, the highest number is Corey Seager at 28.5. The next closest is a utility guy that we have, a Gunnar Henderson, and then Bobby Witt Jr. at 19.6. He has nearly 10 Fangraphs offensive WAR on the next closest guy. We've seen now for Corey Seager that over his career, he has done absolutely incredible things with a baseball bat in his hand. Like, I think we could all kind of say that he is one of the biggest reasons why Texas won the World Series this year. He is a leader on that team, and he is showing more and more that he's making people like us that joked that the Rangers were spending $500 million on to get fourth place in the AL West and making us really have to eat our own crow. Which, you know what? I'll take that. I'll take it. With how good he's been playing and how good of a player he has been, how can you not have him at number one?
Okay, I will counter and say that the Rangers in the playoffs last year, they did finish fourth in my list, but I had them in the playoffs last year, Alex.
I look, I know you did, and that is fine, but we all collectively made the joke of them spending $1 billion to finish fourth.
I'll say the Rangers proved me wrong literally all year, but Seager, oh my God, I can't say enough good things about Corey Seager. I loved watching him play for the Dodgers, and then the thing with 2022 is that the shift, everyone kept saying, like, just wait until they ban the shift. Corey Seager is going to be amazing. They were not lying. Even with the shift, I'm sure Corey Seager still would have been great. I mean, you look at his baseball his baseball reference page is one thing. Then you go over to Baseball Savant, and it's just red. It's all red. There's so much good things to say. I mean, 98th percentile in xWOB, 99th percentile in expected batting average, 98th percentile in expected slugging, 612 expected slugging, 96th percentile in average exit velocity, 93rd percentile in barrel percentage, 96th percentile in hard hit rate. He just does everything right. His defense improved a little bit. He's not a great defensive shortstop, and he's only turning 30 this year. So Corey Seager, I think this is a guy could be talking about in Cooperstown one day. And this, you got to remember, he missed 6 weeks due to injuries. He still led the league with 42 doubles, hit 33 homers, tied his career high. Drove in 96, that's a career high. 6.9 baseball reference WAR, that's career high. If he hadn't gotten hurt, there's a chance he has a better shot at winning MVP. I mean, I don't know if anyone's beating Ohtani, but yeah, Corey Seager, amazing player, really fun to watch. And he is, I think, the undisputed best shortstop in baseball right now.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my number one is Paul Christopher Abrams, shortstop of the Washington Nationals. He was on pace to steal 83 bases after July 6th last year. But no, in all sincerity, Kyle's brother is number one here, Corey Seager. 412 expected WOBA, 314 expected batting average, 612 expected slug. He's playing shortstop, by the way. This isn't like Aaron Judge, Ronald Acuna stuff, right? He's a solid enough defensive shortstop. He's not going to bring much value on the base paths, but what he does do, hits a lot. Unbelievable in the playoffs. Unbelievable the entire season for Texas. The biggest reason why they won the World Series. And now he's a two-time
World Series MVP.
Yeah, two-time World Series MVP now. Just a stud. I will admit that I was a little lower on Seager than most heading into last season. He wasn't. I think he was number 5 if he was even on my list.
For me. Yeah.
But he's just a superstar, man. He's one of the top 10, 15 players in baseball, and that would be a fun list to do. Top 10 players in baseball. Seager in your top 10?
Yeah,
He'd be
I think I
right
would.
there. Yeah, I think so.
I think
I
there's
think
a
that
solid argument. Maybe
yeah, I
not
think
top
there's a great.
5 because it's tough. Well, it's tough this year because Otani's not going to pitch. So
I don't know if I put him in my top 5, but there's definitely an argument for it.
sure. So that was our shortstop list. Now I'm going to hand the mic over to one Alex for everyone's favorite trivia segment.
All right, boys, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to rumble. I watched the Royal Rumble last night, so I just wanted to say that. Anyway, not gonna spoil that for anyone who hasn't seen it yet. But it's time for some more shortstop trivia. Again, we just rated shortstops. Let's talk a little bit more about some shortstops, and we're going to play a game where I have every starting shortstop according to Fangraphs. Every shortstop that's going to be starting for their team in 2024 projected. I will say these are projections at that point. But what is not a projection is how many home runs they hit in the 2023 season. And you know me, I'm a bit as the lover of labs himself here. I love me some sluggers. So I have compiled a list for all of these projected starters at shortstop by how many home runs they have hit in 2023. What I want you all to do is you're going to go one by one, and you are going to name a shortstop that hit the most home runs that has not already been named. And there's a point value to this. So if you get the shortstop with the most home runs, that is 1 point. If you get the one with the second most, that's 2 points. You are trying to gulf this one. You want the lowest score possible. And to add a little bit of spice into the mix here, if you give me a name that is not a projected starter according to Fangraphs, I'm going to say that right now, according to Fangraphs, you will receive 30 points. So be very careful on who you name.
So this is based on 2024 projections. That's what you're talking about.
So the players are the starters are the 2024 projections. The home runs are what was hit in 2023, though.
All right, got it.
So
Sure.
Yeah. So with that being said, I have a dice here somewhere. I also have a coin. I'm going to flip that coin instead. So
Solid.
yep,
Good podcasting, by the way.
great podcasting. I have a quarter right here. All right, Splash, since you hosted today, I'll let you call heads or tails.
We'll go with heads. See, this is the moment we have to have a video podcast because that was excellent, Alex.
Yeah, my headphones fell off for a second. It's tails. So, Mac, you could choose to go first or second.
I'll go first.
Okay, you'll be going first here. I would like you to name me a shortstop.
Corey Seager.
Corey Seager is the number one here with 33 home runs that he hit. That is 1 point. So that is the best.
Quick question: how many guys are we naming?
We're each going to do 5. You each are going to do 5.
All right, sounds good.
Sure.
All right.
I will go with.
Go too long with this.
I will go Francisco Lindor.
You're going Francisco Lindor, and Lindor is going to get you 2 points as he had 31, the second most home runs of any shortstop in baseball for the projected ones. So, Mac, it is back to you. Top 2 off the board.
I'm going with Bobby Witt Jr.
Bobby Witt Jr. is in order. You guys are doing well. That's the number 3 with 30 home runs. Splash, back to you.
I will go with Willy Adames.
Willy Adames is 5th as he had 24 home runs. All right, Mac, it's back to you.
All right. And in that case, I think I'm going with, I think he's projected to play shortstop this year, at least according to my rankings, he was. I'm going with Gunnar Henderson.
Gunnar Henderson. I'm so sorry, man.
What?
He is projected to not play as much shortstop as one Jackson Holiday.
Okay, Fangraphs can screw off after
So
that,
that
man.
is
That's
30
nonsense.
points to Mac.
That is absolute nonsense.
So Mac,
dude.
also, quick question here. Why would you go for Jackson Holiday if he didn't play in 2023?
I went with Gunnar Henderson, man.
Yeah.
Oh, you went with Gunnar Henderson. Oh, duh. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, my
Okay.
bad, my bad. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Okay.
Dude, wait, hold up. They're assuming Jackson Holiday might not be in the majors.
Yeah,
What?
I said very clearly what's the
I
parameters.
am
I'm gonna win on a technicality. I'm gonna win on a technicality.
I am protesting this.
No, wrong,
Okay, go for it.
incorrect. You made your mistake here. I will take Trey Turner.
Trey Turner is number 4 here with 26, so 4 points for Splash. In what was so far a close lead for Mac has now turned into a big lead for Splash. Mac, it's back to you.
Oh my god, I forgot who plays shortstop all of a sudden.
You've forgotten our rankings.
I think I don't know how many home runs this guy hit, but I'll go with Bo Bichette.
Bo Bichette gets you 8 points. He had 20 home runs.
All
right. Give me Anthony Volpe.
Anthony Volpe gets you 7 points because Volpe had 21 home runs.
Right.
All right, this is your guys'
stole a lot of bases too.
One.
Who's in between?
Okay, all right, here's your guys' last one. Mac, you need to get a decent one. You actually, I'm looking at the numbers on here. You need to get like the 6th best, and Splash needs to say Dylan Moore. So
don't think I'll be saying Dylan Moore, especially now that you said that.
I'm trying to remember who plays shortstop now. Okay. So man, I still can't believe that Fangraphs has set me down the drain today.
It's honestly really funny. So I'll say this right now, right? Because I already said that Jackson Holiday is the number 1 projected for them. Of 700 total plate appearances, they have in order Jackson Holiday at 504 projected plate appearances.
Okay,
Jorge
that's
Mateo
ambitious.
Jorge Mateo at 98, Joey Ortiz at 70, and Gunnar Henderson last at 28.
Let him cook. Okay. Let Fangraphs cook.
So I'm assuming he's going to be playing 3rd or 2nd this year.
That's what I was. 3rd. Yeah, I checked in. Yeah, it's 3rd base.
Wes Briggett's 2nd.
Probably. I didn't see. I
didn't look all right. I'm just. I'll go with Xander Bogaerts.
Xander Bogaerts is on the list. He is tied at 9th.
Yeah,
as he is tied with one other player with 19 home runs. All right, well, Splash. You can seal it with not getting a 30.
All right. Well, I'll take the straight shot to the fairway. Mr. Paul Christopher Abrams, CJ Abrams.
CJ Abrams will get you 11 points as he is tied with another player for 18. And with that, the winner is Splash after a what Mac will say is shenanigans.
Fangraphs is going to get a strongly worded email from me. I can guarantee you, or I just have a feeling that Jackson Holiday either will not be on the opening day roster or will be playing second base. That's all. I have not heard Jackson Holiday mentioned as the opening day shortstop. I'm just going to say that.
I will also
Alex,
say
who was 6th?
6th was Dansby Swanson with 22.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wow. He hit more than I thought.
Yeah, that was one of the ones that really surprised me when I was compiling the list. Some other interesting names as well. Orlando Arcia had 17 home runs. He was 13th. Ezekiel Tovar had 15 home runs, which got him 14th on the list.
I'm a Tovar guy.
That's fair. Zach Nito had 9 as well. John Birdie had 7. If you would have told me at the beginning of the season that John Birdie would have more home runs than Trevor Story, I would have laughed at you. But yeah, Trevor Story only had 3 homers. So
he was hurt for most of the year, I guess.
Yeah. Oh no, yeah, no, I completely get it. It's just funny to look at the stats after the fact. I will say this, scores wise, Splash had 29, so Max 1 mistake still would have lost him the game. But Anyway,
What was Max
congratulations.
score?
Nonsense.
Max final score. I should probably actually count it out here. That is 40 and 52.
Okay.
Yeah, so 52 to 29. So
Okay.
in the rules of golf, Splash, you are today's victor. Congratulations.
GG's. I understand your disturbance there, Mac, but it's Jackson Holiday. He's the number one prospect. Of course.
By
he's
the way,
not gonna
Alex, your Mariners just made a trade. They are acquiring Jorge Polanco, supposedly from
Ooh,
the Twins.
Hey,
spicy.
yo. Wait, really? Hold on.
Nice.
Yep, I just got a notification from the MLB at Bat app.
Okay.
Yeah, at bat. Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Actually, yo, I'm down with that. That's
Sick.
awesome.
Yeah.
Depending
Yeah,
on who they're
that's
giving up.
Jerry
Who are they giving
DePoto's
up?
dream of having a team full of second basemen is coming true.
We're actually gonna have a second baseman finally.
Nice.
Potentially. Hold on, I need to see who they traded so far.
Ooh. So this is fascinating because Minnesota probably opens that spot up for Julian, and he's pretty good. Oh, we never got to talk about the atrocity that was the MLB Networks list that had Zach Geloff and his 40 games played over Ozzy Albies and his career.
I think we
hitting
touched
30
on it
home runs.
briefly in the second base episode. Yes.
I really want to know, who did Seattle give up for Jorge Polanco?
They gave up
Probably
Luis
Brian
Castillo, Julio Rodriguez, and Cal Raleigh.
Dang, you're right. No, it looks like one of the players at least is reliever Justin Topa.
Topa,
which looks like it's a number of players.
And Anthony DeSclafani.
Oh, DeSclafani's already gone? Oh, that was quick.
Yeah, he was never going to stay.
Yeah, no, I kind of
Mariners legend.
Mariners legend Anthony DeSclafani. Another kind of interesting bit with this trade, now that I'm looking back at it, Jorge Polanco also has a career 975 OPS versus the Astros. So we take
that's
those
a
wins.
win.
Yeah, there you go.
Dang. All right, cool. Well, hey, Jorge Polanco, welcome to the Mariners. How you doing, buddy?
Good job. Live reactions. Hopefully we don't get like I was a passing one, not anyone else. So we have some reason to believe that will be the case.
Yeah, no, this one has multiple sources with it.
Yes. So
we're not going to talk about the one that did not. So
I think it's time, our time, moment to ourselves. I'm going to go first here. So if one of you would like to count me down or whatever.
All right, here we go. Your time begins in 3, 2, 1, go.
Winning is hard, man. So obviously the Ravens lost and the season's over and it's all doom and gloom and whatnot. But I want to throw it out there that as a champion in my own right, winning is hard. And so background, 2019, I was national champion for sports entertainment trivia. I won on the last question, and it was an Antonio Brown question. I got it really early because he had a tweet about Juju Smith-Schuster. He called him Poo-Poo Smith-Schuster, right? So the clue was some variation of that, and it was wide receiver for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Great. If I hadn't spent 10 seconds on Twitter like 2 months earlier, I would not have been national champion. That was I don't want to say luck, I don't want to say random, but that was a moment that it happened, and it's tough to win. That if there was a different question, if that had been an entertainment question, not a sports question, I don't win, right? Someone else wins. If that was a different group of questions, maybe I finished 6th, right? So we're going to talk about the Ravens season as a failure. We talk about the Braves season as a failure, but man, sometimes it's about the journey. Sometimes it's about watching these guys for 4 months. And sometimes for the Braves, it was about watching them play 162 games and be murderers row in 2023. So winning is hard, man.
Go out to the Mariners for 20 years.
This is a good point. Winning is hard.
Winning is exceptionally difficult.
The Mariners have the record for most wins in a season. It didn't matter in October, but that doesn't mean they suck. That doesn't mean you throw out Ichiro's season or Brett Boone's season or anyone else's season.
Yeah,
they had a great
100%.
season.
It's tough.
They weren't good for a week in October, and that whoop-de-doo.
All right, so, I'll go next if
sure.
People are okay with that. All right, I'll count myself down.
Oh,
okay. No, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Count me down.
3, 2, 1.
All right, thank you, Fitness Grand Pacer Test. But my one is going to be about a game I've been playing a lot recently, and that is Xenoblade Chronicles 3. I think this is a really fun game. I'm not going to spoil any details about it. For those of you that do not know, it is a JRPG, a Japanese RPG game, and it is very battle heavy, very story heavy, and it is not for the faint of heart. There's a lot of very tough story beats to it, but the game is so fun. The soundtrack is absolutely beautiful. I got to work on the game back during its DLC patches and all that, and it was really fun getting to do that. I'm not saying anything about the game, but I'm really glad that I got to revisit it now just as a fan. So I'm very happy about that. I'm happy that this game is fun, way past the time after I worked on it. And I encourage anyone who likes JRPGs or wants to give one a try that loves a good story, give it an effort. If anything, the music is great.
Hey, Mac, your time to shine, pal.
All right, you ready to
Yeah.
go?
All right. Yep.
All right,
3, 2, 1.
So I want to talk a little bit about my racing this weekend. For those of you who don't know, I was sick a couple weeks ago. I got a pretty bad stomach bug, and then also during that week, I was kind of waking up with pain in like my shoulder and my neck and my lower back. But all those things considered, I'm pretty satisfied with my week. 200 butterfly. I just checked the U.S. Master Swimming rankings. Currently second in my age group. It was I was racing a bunch of people who are significantly older than I am, don't quite have the same speed as me, but I just kind of took it as like a good opportunity to train, sort of. And one lesson I did learn is that it turns out recovery time in between races is very important. Had one race, did the 200 freestyle, had to get up 3 minutes later, try to do the 50 butterfly, and it hurt so badly. And it's kind of about taking things in stride. Sort of to Splash's point, winning is very difficult. And I don't win very often. Throughout my career, at least not until I started swimming masters, I did not do a lot of winning. But yeah, I think that was fun, and I'm looking forward to my next competition in Boston in mid-March.
Awesome. All right, fellas. Good show. Listeners, hi. Hope you're doing okay. Wellness check. I'm not well, but we're vibing. So hope you guys have a wonderful day. If you want to, drop a 5-star review, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, whatever you may listen on. You can follow us at LAR_baseball on Twitter. You can follow our YouTube channel. I've been posting shorts like a madman, and we're gonna start uploading the podcast there as well. And Alex and I have some ideas for some medium form video content that's going up. Maybe Mac does too. I don't know. I haven't talked to Mac about it, but podcasting 101 right there. So you can follow me on Twitter at Mr. Splashman19. I probably won't be on very much because there's so much Kansas City Chiefs stuff and I want to jump off a bridge. You can follow Alex at the Sports Guy 242.
Yep, you got it.
Definitely got that right. He might be on Twitter. I don't know. And
I'm on Twitter right
you
now.
can
Yeah.
follow him at Mathias_A_K. Twitter, for some reason, doesn't like when I try to tag him on things. I don't know. Thank you, Elon. Hope you guys have a wonderful day, and go Braves.